the man accidentally discovered that his ex-girlfriend, who never ate yogurt, had a daughter who actually liked eating yogurt. He couldn't help but suspect that the little girl was his own daughter. So the next day, he secretly followed the woman to her daughter's hospital room. But then he overheard his ex-girlfriend's so-called husband. Her daughter, however, called him uncle. The man then impatiently asked the child how old she was. The woman nervously said 6 years old. Then she quickly corrected herself and said 4 years old. It turned out that 5 years ago the woman had been ready to tell the man she was pregnant. But unexpectedly, the man had a relapse of his heart condition. The doctor told the woman that $400,000 was needed for surgery. If it wasn't treated in time, his life would be in danger. The woman had no choice but to go to the man's mother. But the man's mother had a condition. She had to leave her son. For the sake of the man's health, she had no choice but to agree. However, 5 years later, because of genetics, the daughter also developed heart disease. But unexpectedly, when they came for a checkup that day, they ran into the man they hadn't seen in 5 years. Back then, when the man woke up, the scheming woman told him that the woman was afraid he would burden her, and that she had taken the money and run off with someone else. When they met again and he saw another man by her side, and also that she had a daughter, the man immediately thought the woman had betrayed him. So he stepped forward and accused her. But what he didn't know was that the man beside her was not her husband. He didn't understand why the woman didn't tell him the truth. But the woman felt that since the man was living well now, she didn't want to disturb his life anymore. Besides, his mother would never agree to them being together. In order to treat her daughter's illness, she sold her own paintings in the gallery. But to her surprise, when she came to the office, she discovered that the gallery's investor was the man. The man was very angry. He couldn't understand why the woman had left him back then. But the woman simply wouldn't say. So the woman went to the boss and said she wanted to leave. But unexpectedly, the man had already given instructions. If she dared to leave, she would be blacklisted in the entire industry. For the sake of her daughter's treatment, the woman could only choose to endure. The next day was the woman's birthday. The fake husband immediately brought her a gift and invited her to dinner. However, the man saw all of this. He immediately demanded that the woman deliver the painting he wanted to his home. But unexpectedly, after the woman delivered it, the man wouldn't let her leave. So the woman had no choice but to stay. At that moment, the scheming woman called. The man actually hung up the call directly. But at the door, the scheming woman saw the man and her having dinner. Her heart instantly filled with hatred. So when the woman came out, she took her away. The scheming woman accused the woman of ruining her marriage with the man. She questioned why, since the woman had already left the man, she was still entangled with him. She then even wanted to destroy the woman's hand, so she would never be able to paint again. The woman was instantly frightened by the scheming woman. She quickly promised never to appear in front of them again. However, the scheming woman didn't plan to let her go. Just then, the man arrived in time.